Liam was a brilliant fleet engineer. Something about the way he did his work made him rise to the top of his industry very quickly. All his employers loved him because of his innovativeness and the fact that he saved them a lot of money. He was always up to speed with the latest technology, and that helped standardize operations for all the companies he worked for. Soon enough, he got a fleet manager job with a fast-moving consumer goods company. Before long, he had been transferred to the company's other branch in order to bring its operations up to speed. But Liam had a big and nasty secret. You see, Liam had predatory tendencies. He tended to hang out with the younger ladies in the company, and some had reported his attempts to assault them. He made his younger female colleagues very uncomfortable. When the complaints against him increased in number, his superiors decided to hand him the transfer to the branch on the other side of the country. They did this because they had decided against firing him since they deemed him so good at his job. This decision would later come back to haunt them in a major way. In his new job posting, Liam was in charge of the internship program that the company had recently launched. He was the mentor in charge, and this meant that he would spend more time with the interns. One of the interns that had been hired for that year's internship was a lady called Mary. She was a fresh graduate eager to see the world and make a name for herself. She had big dreams and was big on exploring her options. The internship had come her way at just the right time. She welcomed the opportunity wholeheartedly, eager to learn and grow her skills. Liam had been eyeing Mary since the day she set foot into the company. He did not appreciate Mary's skills even though she was really good at her job and her skills seemed to come naturally to her. He was blatantly unprofessional with her, complimenting her hair and dress code and offering her coffee on an almost daily basis. He repeatedly told Mary that she was beautiful and that she made their work clothes look so good. All this made Mary very uncomfortable, but because she was an intern, she was scared of losing her opportunity in this most prestigious of companies. Since he had not physically harmed her, she felt she would handle anything he threw at her and would wiggle out of any awkward situation. This was the real world she had been told about, and she would navigate it, she thought. One evening, 2 months into her 3-month internship, Liam asked her to stay over after the rest of the employees and other interns had gone home. He told her he needed her help with one of the company vans needed the next day for a sales exhibition. It was a curious thing to Mary that Liam would prefer to have her stay over the other more talented and well-experienced engineers, but she obliged and stayed, and in any case, she looked at this as an opportunity to impress once again. Liam also said that he wanted to assess her work before they could hire her permanently. Mary was a little excited, although she felt there was something wrong. She thought of the prospect of having a job and salary, so she decided she was going to stay and impress Liam by working so well on the van. Her fellow interns and senior colleagues left. One of her work friends asked if she was going to call it an evening, and she told her that she had to stay behind. It was a little strange, but she told her to be careful and stay safe. As she worked on the car, Liam made a quick walk around the workshop to make sure that he was alone with Mary, and indeed they were. Liam walked over to Mary and started to make small talk, but she made it a point to show him that she was focused on making sure the van was in as good condition as possible before she left. She played down his advances and sheepishly smiled in the hope that she would put him off so he could give up. After she was done working on the van, she went to Liam's office to get her bag, and as she turned to head out, Liam grabbed her and pinned her to the wall. Mary cried out in a pleading tone, "Please do not do this. You do not have to do this." But he didn't want to listen. Mary decided she would fight back, but Liam was way too strong and he threatened to kill her if she resisted. It was then she realized that agreeing to go to the workshop that evening had been a big mistake. All the advances Liam had made suddenly made sense. This man was an actual monster and he had abused the power he had over her. Why was the world so cruel? Why would someone do this? Surely he was possessed by something. She felt defiled, dirty and worthless. He was stripping her of her precious self. She screamed, but nobody could hear her. The workshop was vast and the generator was running. Never had she imagined that it could ever happen to her. She hoped someone would come and rescue her. Liam got off her and she fell to the floor and sobbed like she had never sobbed before. She was in so much pain and was disgusted with everything around her. She then realized she had to leave this place if she was to be safe. She got up and reached for her bag. She was running out when she felt something hit her leg. She lost balance and fell to the floor. She hit her head on the floor and started to feel dizzy. The room was spinning all around her. She heard Liam's voice from a distance asking where she thought she was going. Even though she was half conscious, she felt herself go paralyzed. She then felt a blow to the back of her head, and that was the last time she saw anything. Liam hit her repeatedly with a wrench, and before long, Mary lay in a heap on the floor. Blood gushed out of her head and ran along the workshop floor. Liam got her body and tied her head with a piece of cloth to stop the blood from flowing. He then placed her body in a corner and began to clean up the blood. He got some cleaning agents from the store, and after a while, he was done cleaning the whole place in an attempt to hide the crime. He then proceeded to wrap the body in a tarpaulin and placed it in the back of the company truck that he drove. He covered it with pallets and some tools in order to further conceal it. The plan was to drive outside the town to the nearby forest and attempt a cremation. After changing from his work clothes, he got into the car. He drove to the gate, and as per standard security procedures, he was required to declare everything that he was taking out of the company premises. The guards asked him what was in the back of the truck, and he said it was nothing really. To the guards' surprise, he started an argument and even threatened to have them lose their jobs. This made the guards dig even deeper, and one of them drew their gun on him and asked him to get out of the car. He reluctantly did so and went and opened the back of the truck. The guards then told him to go sit in the security office while they checked the contents of the truck. One of the guards, Linus, took the tools and the pallets off the truck. He then noticed the tarpaulin and made his colleagues aware of its presence. They unwrapped it and were shocked at what they saw. Mary's lifeless body lay there. Immediately, one of the guards called the police to inform them of what they had discovered. Linus went straight to the security office and told Liam to get on his knees. He then handcuffed him in order to secure him while they waited for the police to arrive. The police arrived a few minutes later and were shown Mary's body. They placed Liam under arrest and took him to the police station, where he stayed overnight. The next morning, the manager of Liam's employer was informed of the arrest and that they had detained him for further questioning. They also requested them to keep the workshop out of bounds to all staff, as it was now a crime scene. There was widespread shock all over the company. For those that knew Liam from his previous branch, it was not a surprise that this had happened. He was considered a monster, and the monster had finally come out in the most horrible of ways. An emergency board meeting was convened to deal with the situation that had happened. It was now they were hit fully by the ramifications of their poor judgment earlier in Liam's time at the company. Surely, no talent was worth having such a scandal on their head. Their reputation was now going to take a big hit, and chances of them recovering from this were so slim. Soon, the newspapers would get wind of this, and this would be the scandal of the year and even beyond. Mary's murder had far-reaching consequences. The workshop was closed for a week at first, but then that extended to the entire establishment, including the factory. The workers were all sent home for a month with pay and another month on half pay. It was an all-round disaster for the management. Evidence gathered at the crime scene showed attempts to clean it up and paved way for charges relating to conspiracy to tamper with evidence and conceal a crime. The autopsy results from Mary's body also revealed that the cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head effected by multiple blows from the wrench Liam had used to hit Mary. In addition, body fluid samples taken from Mary's clothes and body were tested for DNA, and it came as almost no surprise that these matched DNA from Liam. This piece of evidence placed Liam at the scene of the crime and broke down any resistance he had shown in prior interviews to get to find out what had happened to Mary and his role in it. At Liam's trial, there were several employees that came forward to testify against him. They gave detailed accounts of how gross his behavior towards females at the workplace was. The extent of the monstrosity of his actions was laid out for all to see. It was a very painful trial for all that attended it, especially Mary's family. She was the family's firstborn and was the first among the children to graduate. She was the beacon of hope for her family, and her siblings looked up to her. They felt like fate had dealt them a very nasty blow. Why would such a beautiful soul be taken away from them at such a young age? All this promise and everything she was meant to become had been stopped dead in its tracks by a monstrous predator. How would they recover? Would they recover? Only heavens knew. The trial was concluded briefly, and the jury did not take long to come back with a verdict. Liam was found guilty of murder in the first degree and conspiracy to tamper with a crime scene. He was later sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The company later named the internship program in honor of Mary and pledged to cater for all her siblings' education costs till they graduated from college. Even though all this would never bring her back, it was a small way that Mary's light would continue to shine through and her memory be kept alive.